On today's Minute of the Apes, it's officially spring when I hear my neighbors out mowing the lawn while we get ready to do Minute 32.
Exercise with an ape maker, human down. Then talks. With a divine bound. We are determined to know what the apes want. War or peace. And if it is man's destiny one day to be dominated, then oh please God, let him be dominated by such as you.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, a daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd. What are you looking at?
They are not mowing anything. There is nothing to mow right now. That yard is dead.
So I have a feeling what they're doing, you're supposed to put, in fact, I'm glad I thought of it. You're supposed to put pre-emergent on your lawn.
It's pre-emergent.
It keeps weeds and whatnot. It's a fertilizer, and you put it on, it keeps weeds from germinating. And it usually takes a year or two. Once you put it down the first time, then the next year it really starts working. You probably should mow a little bit, so they may have a little bit of stuff they're cutting away. But it was Sean ran to the restroom while we were recording, and I looked at Richard. I was like, "Oh, that's the first time I've heard of a lawnmower this year." So I know it's officially getting
he is
spring.
moving like he's not mowing anything. Look at how fast that guy is moving.
Well, I'm not mowing anything.
Okay, but you know what? I bet he's got. I don't mow my own lawn anymore. That's one of my great things that I've hired somebody.
Talk to my husband. I need somebody to do that.
I sold
he
my
makes it
lawnmower
look to
when we
me.
moved. I'm not doing it anymore.
Did you really?
Yep.
So you just moved to your house, right? Yeah, the old house you
not my
rented.
house,
Well, the
but
house
yeah,
you rented.
somebody
Yeah,
lives there.
I noticed the porch light on the other day.
I got rid of mine too. I gave mine away, but what a reason I'm bringing that up is that I wonder if he has what I had, which is there's a little motor that you clasp and it turns your front wheel so it goes faster. It actually helps pull along. So he may have one of those.
JJ, whenever we lived in Oklahoma, I would do all the yard work, but I had a kidney stone one week, and so I couldn't do anything. And I literally had the stone for a week. And so our landlord came over and said, "Well, you need to mow the yard." And my wife goes, "Well, my husband does that, but he has a kidney stone. When he passes it, he'll take care of it." And he's like, "No, you need to do it now." JJ had never mowed a yard before.
Oh no!
And she
Are
didn't
you
realize.
serious?
She didn't realize that you could let go of the automatic mover. So she is literally running around the yard trying to keep up with it, making turns as fast as you can, not knowing she could just go that and let go
my goodness.
and not have to run after a lawnmower. Yeah, basically, Benny Hill. She's trying to mow the yard.
And at that point, did she like, okay, you're a god
Yeah,
to me
after
that
that,
you're
she's
to
like,
him?
I'm never doing that again.
You know,
my goodness.
Lawn mowing is one of the most unfair tasks that's known to
So
modern civilization.
boring and
Hate it.
tedious.
Repetitive.
I was so glad when, I turned to Shelley and said, just because I've had numerous surgeries and whatnot, I tell Shelley, I can't do this to my body anymore. Okay, great. I'm going to get a house cleaner. You can get that. I was like, okay, I'll do that trade-off. Hell yeah. And watching these guys come in, I've got a great service. They do all my flower beds and everything. Just did them yesterday. I'm like, love you guys. Let's talk apes.
Let's
All
talk
right.
it. Yeah, totally.
All right, minute 32. Tell us what's going on, Sean.
We start minute 32 with the bidding beginning on Caesar and ends with Breck saying the figures seem inflated.
All right, here we go. Minute 32, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
What am I bid for this superb specimen? 800, 800.
850.
850 over here, do I hear 9? Have 850 over here, do I hear 9?
900.
I hear 9 over there, 9 over there, 9 over there.
950.
950 over there on the end, 950 on the end.
1,000.
1,000 from the gentleman on the end. $1,000 over here, $1,000.
1,100.
1,100 over here,
1150.
1150 in the back row.
1,200.
$1,200 from this gentleman going to this gentleman. Going.
Buy him. 1,500.
1,500 from Mr. McDonald for His Excellency Governor Breck. Gone.
It's very good, Morgan. But simplify the wording in that last paragraph. Where's that IQ breakdown?
Sir, we've just received this rather disappointing report on the new automated sanitation plan.
You have a meeting with the curfew control at 12 o'clock.
Cancel it, Miss Greer.
Yes, sir.
These figures seem inflated.
All right, as of minute 32, we have courtyards worth of gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, imported apes, Caesar, and a planet's worth of humans. This is not how auctions are run. Oh
So,
my God.
Sean, tell people why you know how auctions run.
I work for an auction house, and I have not done it, but they do give auctioneer classes there every year, so you can be an officially licensed auctioneer if you want to.
Wow.
You could auctioneer for the company, or you could go out and do it with other people if you want to.
That's cool.
But there are certain amounts that you bid, so it's like $1 amount under $100, and then it goes like $10, $5, $10. The amounts jump.
Not 800, 850 to 900,
You
950
don't
to
just go
1,000 to 1,100.
850. No, it's 800, 900, 1,000.
Right.
You don't just go bidding and say 850, 851, 852. No, they don't do that. There are set amounts that you jump up, including the, hey, I'm going to outbid everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do that in bidding either, because you can say I'm going to bid $5,000, but you're only going to pay what the highest bid would have been.
So that brings in a thought that I had immediately, and I'm going to jump into what occurs in a minute, and we can go back and break down. But when it got to that bidding, that then when McDonald throws in his bid, I thought right away, I was like, okay, why aren't they just doing it in a small increment, and then a person goes to outbid them, and they put the hand down, and someone could say, no one outbids the governor.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a nice little touch that they're afraid of him. You could have added a moment, and it would make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But once again, it's just, hey, I'm going to throw out my money and crazy stuff. I do love in this whole minute, we get some really cool angles, but the angles don't always make sense of where the vantage point is coming from. I should be looking down at times and looking up at other.
So I was lambasting these moments for not having something very cinematic, but there were some shots of Caesar that I thought kind of evoked that moment of him being auctioned off. Again, looking up at him, he's just kind of looking around the audience. I'm like, okay, that's a great shot.
Yeah.
But it was missing when they would do the wides of just this really sad auction that's happening.
Right.
We get the shot kind of over the auctioneers. We see the people in metal chairs. We see Breck and McDonald sitting up at the top, and we see Caesar on the auction block with this. And there's just something very not present about those shots that just makes me feel like I'm not in the moment. But there were some tights on Caesar as we kind of look up over Breck that I thought those were actually really nice.
Yeah, there are nice moments of it, but again, it doesn't always stand true to who's the driving force of that moment, where they're looking down, looking up, and that kind of drove me a little batshit. But
so just as a random side, one thing that was not in there is we go through the thing 850, 950, 1,000, 1,100, 11D50. I just made that up. 1150, 1,200, and the auctioneer at some point is supposed to go, and this got cut. Going to the gentleman in the wheelchair. A very wise choice, if I may say so, sir. Going, and then Breck is supposed to go by him, which he does. But I just love going to the guy in the wheelchair. What? Why did Dane feel going to the? We're 1991, and
that's a very forward-thinking thing, though, because I mean, especially in the 70s, we would not have shown a handicapped individual
who would need the assistance of an ape for this moment. But
it's
just kind of random, like a little offside.
Yeah.
They got cut. But Breck leans forward and turns to he says to McDonald, Breck can't do it, but his black assistant can.
Bitch.
Buy him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's still something subservient about McDonald's role to everything that's happening to Breck. That's
true.
That we haven't really talked about. But he goes by him, and then McDonald just jumps ahead with from 1,200 to 1,500, because apparently that's the bid that like stops it all. But to your point, yes, it should have been like, we can't outbid the governor. The governor's made it.
It would make sense at that point. You're going to tell me somebody there, what was his winning bid, 1,500, wasn't it?
He bid 1,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me one of these people doesn't have more than $1,500 to give on a monkey?
Yeah,
but if they really want him?
Because I did put that as a note there. Nobody counters Breck's bid.
So the jump was like $300 to $400, but it would have been nice to be something unique, not just a high amount, but something that sounds like he's breaking the pattern of bidding. To your point that you only follow these patterns, but if he literally said, 1,201, like as a point, like we're stopping this right now, and it's like, okay, we can't go past the governor.
Or if he says 1201 and the guy doesn't even gone, he just says sold to the governor, and
sold.
The man's like, what happened? You cannot. You could do so many ways to say his power is final.
But there was also nothing to let me know that Brett cares about Caesar in any way.
Except for his weird sitting up and noticing the shackles fall before Caesar picks it up. That reaction should have come afterwards.
And why does Brett even care about... There are no apes in his office.
Right.
We have not seen an ape subservient in the governor's office at all.
The reason he cares is because the story needs him to care. The story needs him to have Caesar closer to him so that we can now up the tension and get more toward the focal point of the story.
I needed a moment where Breck sees the video of Caesar and Armando in the city,
right?
And Breck has an intuition that this might be the same ape or something, just a little. And that's let him look at the comedic circus flyer and go, oh, that looks like the same ape.
Or if the shackles being dropped was a test to see what the apes would do. If they had done it 2 apes before, the rule of threes, drops it, nobody does anything, guard picks it up, drops it, nobody does anything, guard picks it up, drops it, Caesar picks it up
and hands it back to him.
Hands it back, and that's when you get an interested look.
Right.
No, there's nothing to connect.
But to your point, they should have had a conversation previous to, well, we're bringing in we're worried that this intelligent ape may have been with him, may have escaped into the population. We're bringing in a new group of apes for auction. Let's go attend it. Let's see what we see. And there's your intelligence test to that extent.
Back to my point earlier about this, what doesn't lend to this moment is the fact that they are so far away. That they're completely totally disconnected. And I get the governor should be up above, but for him to be involved in what's happening with Caesar and the shackles, he needs to be a little more present into that shot.
Again, you can make those present into the shot, because if it's over his shoulders, he's looking at Caesar, and then were the shots to be when Caesar picks it up and hands it, that maybe, I'm trying to think of how that would be, but you've got the governor here, you've got Caesar here, and the action is across the plane, what we see, then it would be that they're watching that action. They're involved. You can draw people together no matter how much distance is between them. They didn't take the time to do that.
Yeah.
They just treated this as another convenience of, hey, we've got this going on. This is what we need to do.
Are we done with the auction talk yet?
So at the auction talk, he buys him... And how does the minute end?
Well, we're in the office.
We go into the office.
Now we have the shittiest non-steady shot walking into the office. Did you notice how bumpy it was?
No, I didn't.
It's almost as if somebody has it on their shoulder walking backwards.
Probably did. They do. They use. Well, they didn't have steady cams.
They didn't, but they had.
Until
they could put it
76.
on rails. I mean, they could put it on tracks.
They could have.
They could have.
But this looks like a real office. They may not have been able to get a track in
It's
there.
just a very unsteady shot.
My note of this is there's no tech in this office at all, outside of some shiny chairs.
No, they've got the best tech in there. Are you kidding me? That hidden wet bar?
That's what I thought too. They got the hidden wall.
That's badass. I want that in my house.
So he says buy him, and then we cut to a scene of McDonald leading Caesar into the office. We have an office assistant who's outside, the secretary, the assistant, whatever you would call her. They lead him by, for some reason, and this is what bothers me. For some reason, Caesar is now really dumb, and there's no sense of the fact that he knows where he's going or what's happening. He kind of lunges briefly at the office assistant, and McDonald has to pull him away. And I have no idea why Caesar does that.
It's like Caesar turned on the intelligence everywhere else that people could see it, but now that he's owned, he's deciding to ape up being stupid.
But I don't know that there's any threat. There's no sense to him. There's no sense
danger,
for me that he knows that he's now owned or who he's going to.
Right.
Because he's never met Breck. If he had seen Breck and Armando scenes before, he might have been able to put those together, but he doesn't know who McDonald is or who Breck is. He doesn't know what the governor is. Now, I will go back. So let me go back a second. He did appear to overhear the conversation between Mrs. Riley and the person. He was kind of brought into the moment for a second.
Okay, but there are moments where because we as the audience, we know something the rest of the world doesn't besides Caesar and Armando, and is that he can understand what is being said. If he had seen the governor coming out at that point, whenever, she's talking, and then you could have even said, the man could have said something like, I heard there was a commotion, someone was arrested, anything like that. Draw these things together. He's understanding now the jeopardy, and yeah, I heard the governor had him arrested. Now, I can at least draw these things together, but we're not using his intelligence in a way that's intelligent to us to tell us a deeper level of the story.
I mean, I would like to fault Dane for not doing the setup for these scenes. But the scene with Mrs. Riley and the member was actually added